And a very warm welcome. We're in Marina di Campo, which is on the island of Elba, just off the Italian coast, Tuscan coast. We're in the Daha TBM930, the default Asobo aircraft, which is actually really rather lovely. And we're going to be flying to Massa Cinquale, which is just a very small airfield with a dirt strip, again in Tuscany, by a fabulous town called Forte di Marmi, and it's just a short 80-mile hop. So I'll just bring up a little nav map just to show you the route. So we're here, Isola di Elba, just off the Italian coast. So we're going to take off from runway 16, and then, I mean, we're not going to really follow the route, we're just going to fly visually. So we're going to go along the coast. Here is Pisa, and we might see the Leaning Tower. I don't know whether we can see it from the coast, but we're not going to fly over the airport. We're supposed to do that, and then just a short while later just get to Massa Cinquale, which is very interesting because I used to fly from here actually in the real world. We had a 172 HP, so I had a wobbly prop, constant speed propeller, and used to take off always from 2-3 and land on 2-3 because there are hills right about here. Okay, and obviously you can't take off towards a hill because there's nowhere to go. You can't land towards it in case you want to go around. So yeah, it's 2-3, and it's quite tight circuit. Good fun, perfect for the 930. So there we go, route of about 80 miles. Let's get underway. We've got all the doors closed, so we'll just get straight into the cockpit. And here we are. We're just going to run with the default loads. That's 50% fuel and 1 or 2 passengers. I'm not really worried about that. The doors do work in this. The thing about the doors is you've got to make sure that this little seal is switched on, otherwise the aircraft won't pressurize. So once you close the door, click that seal, otherwise the aircraft won't pressurize. It's the rubber boots around the door. I think there's similar on the back. But anyway, we're not going to look there. So hide the yoke, first thing to do. And so we go to the overhead, and this here, we start with what's called the crash bar, this yellow and black bar that you have to move upwards. It's designed so you switch off the main systems in one go. Okay, you just crash it down. That's why it's called a crash bar. So move the crash bar up out of the way, then we can do battery on. We can do generator on. We're not going to do starter, not yet, but we are going to put the fuel pump to auto, I guess, and the fuel selector to auto. Fuel selector is quite important because you've got left and right tanks on this aircraft, and they are at the back of the pedestal just here, and actually they switch themselves. So it's, I think, 10, 15 minute, 20 minute, and it automatically goes from left tank to right tank, and then from right tank to left tank. So that's what that button does, auto. Put the autopilot on, you have to put the trims on. Then working from the crash bar to the left, we'll get some lights. Just move the panel lights up a little bit and put our nav light on, and that's all we want up there. Okay, so when we look at the main panel now, we've got our main screens. You'll see in the default state the Garmin Clear Vision, I think it's called, isn't working. Oh, there it is. It's just come online. So now we can see, you know, the terrain through as like a head-up display, I guess. Let's press B. We've got active sky running. So 1012 for QNH.
Okay.
And the middle screen comes up with the default system test. So we've got to press the rightmost line select key, and that switches on the middle screen. Okay, so let's get our flight plan in, and to do that I've got to remind myself it's a long time since I've flown this. Yeah, so we've got on the two Garmin touchscreen controllers, we've got the PFD settings here, and the MFD, the multi-function display, is the middle one here. Okay, and that's what we need to get to first of all. And in order to get the aircraft running, we've got to go through some basic setups. Okay, so let's do the flight plan. We add the origin, LIRJ, that's Marina di Campo, and we do the destination, and that's LILQ, Massa Cinquale, and enter. And then we just want a couple of waypoints. We're just going to do Elba, ELB, duplicates found. So we just do enter, and Elba, Italy, that's what we want. And then we want, I think it was Pisa, can't quite remember. Yeah, PIS, Papa India Sierra. So we do another en route, add en route waypoint. So Papa India Sierra, duplicates found, press enter, and we want Pisa, Italy. It'll show you the closest ones at the top of the list. There we go. Dead simple flight plan. Okay. And then we can go back, weight and balance. So we'll do 2 crew, enter. No, sorry, it's stores. Do £30. We got an overnight bag with us. There we go. Payload. So 3 passengers. That'll do nicely. Take off, fuel and board. We'll do the sink. 141 gallons. That's fine. You know, that's just all we need, really. Perfect. Fuel reserves. I'm not going to worry about that. And we just do initialize. OK. And that just gives a thumbs up to the airplane that we've set everything up. Okay, so once we've done the initialization, we can go to the we've got the normal MFD screen. So we get to flight plan through the flight plan button. There it is. Back to the home, and we've got various settings. We've got traffic window shown here. Now what you can see here is that the MFD is separated into 2 bits. The one that we're operating is highlighted in blue. The one that we're not is not. To switch between them, you can just use this rotary knob here. Okay, just the very top of it, and you just roll the wheel of the mouse and it switches from one to the other. And when you get to the screen you want, the buttons on the MFD controller, the touchscreen controller, will change to the appropriate one. So here we could put traffic on, but we could also put, for instance, weather radar, charts. Okay, no available charts. Well, there aren't any for this airport, so that's fine. But we'll get traffic back on there. Okay, and on the right touchscreen controller, again it's set on PFD. We don't want MFD because this one's controlling the MFD. We want Navcom. Okay, that's the radios. So what we're going to do, we're going to put a squawk code in. I'm going to do my usual 2526. There's no rhyme or reason why I do that. I just do. So we're going to do on, okay, and altitude reporting. Oh, that's it. You just click altitude reporting. As I said, it's a long time since I've flown this. And we go back to the home page. So that's the radios there. No, why have I not got 2526 there? 2526. Enter. There we go. Done. You see, I'm learning on the fly, as it were. Right. So let's hide the yoke for the co-pilot, and I'm not going to worry about this setup. You can see it's still in inches here, and here we've got hectopascals, but we're going to start the engine. Okay, so this aircraft has got a single throttle / propeller lever. Okay, and when we start the engine, we'll just move it up into the low idle, and then we're going to move it across this gate. So to do that, we move it up, across, and then it stays in that detent there, which is idle / taxi. But it won't just move across. You can't drag it across. The way to do it, and I'll do it now just to show you, is you left click on the throttle when it's in the uppermost position. You left click and hold, and then you right click at the same time. There you go. So you left click and hold, and then you right click, and it goes across the gate. Left click and hold the button, right click. Okay, so off for the moment. So we just go back to the overhead, put our strobe light on. Let's have a look to make sure they're all going. So we've got strobe light running, position lights I can see. So we want to go here. So ignition stays on auto. We're just going to go start. There we go. And we're waiting for 10. And then we can go to low idle. 10 we've got, so that can go to low idle. There we go. We didn't check that the parking brake was on. It is. Parking brake is below the yoke here. Okay. So when we get into the green band, we can go to across the gate. So let's do that now. So we move it up, left click and hold the left button in, right click. There we go. Set. Okay, a couple more bits of housekeeping to do. In a turboprop aircraft such as this, these engines cost millions. I mean literally millions. The air intake here will bring in a lot of, I mean it's like a very powerful Hoover, if you like. Okay, and when you're on the ground, oh, is it shutting down? I hope not. It has shut down. Why is it shut down? I've got fuel on, yes. Maybe I didn't switch the starter off. Maybe that's what it is. I don't quite know, to be honest. This has got to be. I don't know why I did that. That green band, let's go across the gate. What's it saying here? Prop RPM, okay. I'm not sure why it switched itself off. Okay, so we're not going to worry about it. So a couple of bits of housekeeping. So pressurization in this aircraft is automatic, but we do need to put on oxygen. Okay, that's up here. We also we were talking about the turboprop being like a very powerful vacuum. On the ground, you don't want it to suck up any little pebbles and stones and other foreign objects. So you put what's called the inertial separator on. Now that basically separates anything that's heavier than air and shoves it out of the system. So it only brings into the engine air. Okay? And that's really important because you don't want little stones wrecking your £1 million turboprop engine. So then we can do our pitter heat, stall warning, and the pressurization is automatic, but we need to put the bleed on, and that's there. 2 clicks to auto. Okay, so I'm not quite sure why the engine stopped, but let's see how we get on. We want one stage of flap. Okay, let's have a look outside. There we go. Lovely, lovely, lovely aircraft. Okay, so let's get taxiing. So, and we're just going to fly manually, but we will use a bit of the autopilot as well. So let's get the parking brake off, and we'll give it a little bit of power. And we've got obviously no tiller control. It's all on the pedals in this. Just going to go to the exit up here. So we didn't want to blind the ground there. Taxiing a bit fast. The taxi light can come on. Okay. And as you can see, the wonderful thing about this is the visibility. You've got no engine nacelles either side like you do on the big twin. And this is very, very fast, this aircraft. So we're at the runway. We got our strobe lights on. And let's get our landing lights and just taxi onto the runway. Now we're going to backtrack. Probably don't need to. Okay. Just struggling to find a good position for the power, so I get a sensible taxi speed. So I know I'm in Italy, but I really shouldn't drive like that in Italy. Okay, so traffic is off. I don't quite know why, but let's leave it off. The transponder should be working, but maybe it's because I'm not on the air. Maybe it's because I haven't got any traffic set. Let's try that. Let's get traffic. Oh no, I've got it running. Here it is. Yeah, I've got traffic running. So we're at the end of the runway. Let's just do a quick turnaround. We're not going to use the displace threshold, although we can for takeoff. Just turn the aircraft around. There we go. Okay. So trims, let's just check the position of the trim. There's a little green. This is the elevated trim here, so I'm just going to move the trim wheel so that it is in the green. There we go, that's good takeoff trim there. Okay, so I think we're set. We're not going to worry about timers, so we're going to follow the flight plan, but just in a rudimentary sort of VFR flight. So let's give it some welly. We don't want to exceed any of the tolerances here, so amber okay momentarily, red no good. Okay, so let's give it some welly. Okay, there we go. Lots of torque on this engine, so a lot of right rudder needed. Got 50 knots, 65 knots, 70, round we go. There we go. Oops, that's my yoke's not quite right. There we go. Positive rate. I need a bit of back trim on that. Flaps can come up pretty much straight away. Oh dear, I'm not doing very well here. Why is that? Maybe I should have left the trim where it was. That's really struggling. Okay, so what did that teach me? That taught me that the trim was best where it was. Right, so we're now over the water. See, a lovely view. The VOR is around there. Now that's the aircraft squawking at me because I've gone outside of the tolerances. Just pulling back on the power lever a little bit. We're going to take up a left turn here. And I think with this aircraft you literally climb at 120 knots or something like that, all the way up to your cruise. 125, something like that. So we're just going to fly at, say, 5,000 feet. So let's dial in 5,000 feet on the 5,000 feet, 1,000 feet, there we go. and we're going to fly centre the heading bug by pressing the heading knob. Heading, come on. Flight level change, autopilot, flight level change, there we go. Flight level change, it will climb on airspeed. Okay, so just making sure that I'm not exceeding the tolerances here. You can see that my propeller is in the green, so that's good. And again, there's only one control here. Okay, so really hard not to get that right. There's a manual override here, which gives you, I think, an extra 50 horsepower for takeoff. Not that you really need it in this. So we're climbing at about 170 knots. On flight level change, which is indicated airspeed. We can change that by using the wheel here. So let's decrease that to 160. You'll see the aircraft will climb a bit more steeply. There we go. So we just came up to 5,000 feet. Lovely view of the island of Elba, and that's the mainland over there. Okay, so we can come round again to our left. And head towards the mainland. So there's the aircraft levelling off. So we're just coming up to 5,000 feet, and yes, it is. There we go. Autopilot is captured. You can see it flashing on alt, and the aircraft is now just accelerating, and it really is effortless, this aircraft. It really, really is. So landing light can come off. We're outside of the ATZ. Very nice, very nice, and it's just accelerating very, very happily. Nearly 200 knots. That's pretty impressive, really. Traffic is now switched on. I think it's because we're on the ground and it was on standby. Okay, so I'm just going to bring up little nav map and make sure we're at least going in the right heading where we are. We're just going to turn left. We're going to follow the coast. So let's go left using the heading knob. And of course, if you wanted to fly the route, oops, okay. You just go to nav here, but we're not just going to fly manually, visually. Beautiful day. Okay, so look outside. Look at this. It's $1 million. And this aircraft is one of the very best, I think, in MSFS 2020. It was always good, but then they did, I think Working Title did a mod for it with opening doors and lots more systems. And that's now been absorbed into the actual TBM930 that comes with this in. That makes it very, very, very good. Really capable and competent. Excellent aircraft. Of course, the TBM that I'd really like is the black square one available from Just Flight. That would be superb. So we're just going to steer a little bit more left here. Let's look at this map because we're not seeing very much here, just blue. The range is this ring here, this knob here. But if you remember, we've got to select the right screen because the moment the traffic screen is selected, it's in blue, turquoise, whatever. So we want to select this. So let's just put our cursor at the top of the knob and use the wheel and the mouse, and now we can zoom out a bit. There we go. So we want to come left a little bit. We want to go over this bit of land and follow the coast north. So left by about 20-30 degrees. What's good is that you've got a nice, easy. If when you move the heading knob, you'll see there's a blue dotted line that appears from the aircraft. it can actually really accurately place where you're, where you want to fly. Look at that. So we're all good. Propellers in the green. The torque is 74. Everything else is in the green. We are all good. One caution: inertial separator is on. Okay. Now we're at 5,000 feet. We no longer need it. So I'm going to switch the inertial separator off. So that means the engine's now not separating anything that's heavier than air. Okay. The penalty of using the inertial separator is that it takes a little bit of power from the engine. But the good thing is that you don't wreck your engine. So 210 knots we are doing. That works out to be 230, 40, I think, ground speed. It's very, very fast aircraft. And you see, the visibility is just astonishing. It's, big engine up front, but no big engine nacelles either side. Okay. Let's just zoom out on the display a little bit more. I want to see our route. There it is. You see the magenta line there. We're just tracking that roughly. Oh, well, parallel to it. Come left a little bit more. This aircraft, I think, will fly up to flight level 300, I think. There's the barrow knob. We'll stick with the Q&H. I'm not sure what the transition altitude is here. I never really went high. Flew here. Did fly over the mountains though. That's very interesting. Italy is full of mountains. In fact, you can ski in Tuscany, and it's very interesting to fly over ridges. What do you call ridge lines? You have to do it in a very, very particular technique. So Massa Cinquale is a little dirt strip. It's sea level, and the end of the runway. What was the runway? Runway 23, all the 05 numbers are literally just by the coast. You take off and you're literally feet wet immediately. And so what we'll do, we'll just come along the coast, 1,000 feet, this is sea level, 1,000 feet, descending to about, I think we did 700 or 800 feet circuits here. Well, you don't do circuits, sorry, for the arrival. So the downwind was, I think, 700 or 800 feet. Just turn downwind and then left base before we get to the hill, obviously. So the question is, do you need the PC-12 when you've got this, which is a very similar aircraft, obviously just a little bit smaller, with a nicely appointed cabin. Let's have a quick look in the back. So you've got really comfy seats, working door. The answer is probably you don't need the PC-12 unless you're going to fly this type of aircraft a lot, and then you need to decide which PC-12 you want. There is the original PC-12 by Coronado, which is, well, it's one of my favourites. I prefer it actually to the Simwork Studios PC-12, which is supposed to be the all singing, all dancing, but really I prefer the Coronado. It's funny. And then you got this new Coronado Microsoft PC-12 NGX, which has got some very complex avionics on it, 4 big screens and a little mini touchscreen controller. So do you need those? I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. I think you need to just fly this, and if you enjoy flying it, and you enjoy this sort of aircraft, the airfield flight, then yeah, then go for it. But you know, this does the same job. Okay, it's versatile. Now I'm just trying to remind myself, because it's a long time since I've been down this neck of the woods. We'd better steer ourselves towards Pisa, so we're just going to use that heading knob, the heading, the little dotted line, so I can steer myself directly to Pisa VOR. You don't want to overfly the airport, they wouldn't be very impressed with that. There we go. Just bring up little navgraph. Little nav map. This leg here is 25 miles from Pisa to Massa Cinquale. So it's not a very long route, this. It's very lovely because you've got all the Tuscan coastline. So we're at 5,000 feet, we want to descend to let's call it 1,000. Need to lose 4,000 feet. Okay? And we're going very fast. We've got a ground speed of 240. So how long would it take to cover 25 miles? Well, not very long is the answer. Once we get to Pisa, of course. So we will need to slow down considerably. Put a little moving map here. Let's get to map setting, map layout, inset map, or, which is nice, or you can go for the HSI map. So it puts a little map in your HSI. Weather overlay, data, oh goodness me. That puts traffic onto the map, I think. I don't know, I'm guessing. Your guess is as good as mine. Map settings, map range. And if you want to fly FMS route, in other words, what you've put in here, the flight plan, make sure that this soft key here is on FMS. Let's have a quick look outside, and we're going to be flying into cloud. System. Oh, we are. There we go. I've got the ad on my project coastline, which adds all of Italy's coastline, including the islands, Sicily, for instance, and Elba, and all the entire coastline. It adds all the right marinas, all the right jetties, all the right piers, and lots of boat traffic, as you can see. So, because obviously right, let's descend. Let's descend to 3,000 feet. So let's just dial in 3,000 feet. Second checked, and we want to come down. So let's use vertical speed. The climb on flight level change, which is airspeed mode, will come down vertical speed. Okay. We can come down flight level change, because if we press flight level change now, the aircraft is doing 19 knots. Okay. So in order for it to maintain 219 knots, okay, if I pull back my throttle lever, in order to maintain 219 knots, the aircraft has got to go downhill. So let me just pull back my throttle. There we go. See the throttle moving back. And the aircraft, in order to maintain my dialed in speed of 219, has got to lose altitude. Otherwise it won't be able to keep up 219. So you can climb and descend on flight level change, or you can come down at vertical speed. But of course, if you keep the power settings, you'll just accelerate and you might go beyond the structural limits. So how far are we from the EBL? I don't think we're that far now. just here. It's a bit of land. Press the space bar, it just gives us a slightly better view up front. Just there. You see Project Coastline does all the ports. There's Pisa Harbour. I love the fact that you've got the to the side. You've got the engine, the turbine outlet there. You've of course got all the shimmering air effect. So 1,000 feet to go. All the liners, all the ferries, all the cargo vessels. If you like flying in Italy, then Project Coastline is very, very worthwhile. Okay, so we are just coming 3,200. Okay, and it's saying that it's captured the altitude, and when alt goes green at the top, it's set. There you go. And it's now going to, because I reduced power in order for it to descend, it will just slow down a little bit, but I'm okay with that because we've only got 25 miles now to go to our destination. In fact, there's a cloud ahead of me still. Oh yeah, that's a way away. Okay. And you can now see Massa Cinquale is there. So what we're going to do, we're going to use the old heading knob to aim ourselves directly at Massa Cinquale. How useful is that, eh? Does it say how far we are from the destination? Distance 22. So we've done 3 miles in the blink of an eye. This is a very capable aircraft. So let's just think about landing. So we're going to come in on runway, landing light, come on. We're going to use pulse landing lights, they're quite fun. They flash alternately when the landing gear is down. You get the left one and the right one and the left. Just your eye is more likely to see something moving like that. So let's come down another 1,000 feet. So we're dialed in 2,000 set. We'll use flight level change. Okay, and we'll let the airplane. I'll just reduce power a little bit. Okay, and in order to maintain the current speed of 203, which you can still change, okay, in order to maintain that speed, it has to lose altitude to keep flying, you know, it has to go downhill to keep that speed. All makes sense. But we can still come down on vertical speed if we want. How far have we got? 16 miles. See, it really is eating these miles up. Okay, and we want to be, what did I say, 800 feet. So we're just going to get to 2,000 and I'll let the aeroplane slow down. We do not want to be going that fast. Okay, so I'm just going to reduce the power a little bit more. And the aircraft manages, got a single controller, it does the prop and the condition levers all in one, it's all automatic, you don't need to worry about it. Right, so I've just reduced the power, see the speed washing off. We've now got 13 to run. Let's zoom in a bit on the map. So we're on the blue. We're on the map, so let's just zoom in a little bit. No, wrong way. Big reservoir, there it is. We're this is Livorno, very expensive part of Italy. And next is Forte dei Marmi, which is ahead of us. Lots of marble quarries around here as well. So we're actually not flying properly at the moment, I hate to say it, because we're following a line feature. That line feature is the coast. The line feature could be a road, a motorway, a railway, a river, okay? And ideally, as the, you know, if you're following a line feature, ideally you should be with the line feature to your left, in other words, right of the line feature. Okay, and that way if traffic coming the opposite direction is also following that line feature, you won't be heading towards one another. So I should be just over the coast, but nobody here is going to be very pleased if I fly a powerful aeroplane at low altitude, low over the coast. No, I think there'd be complaints. So it's one of those, you know, situations where we're not really going to follow the line feature, because that wouldn't be kind to people on the beaches and the expensive restaurants and what have you. Okay, so we are now, let's have a look, 7 miles away. Let's go down to 800 feet. 800 feet, flight level change. I'm really going to pull the power back this time. Okay, so because we're coming in for a landing, inertial separator coming on. Okay, because we don't want it. It's a dirt strip.
Sink rate.
Oh, just right. See, I pulled up. I pulled too much power off then, so the aircraft is really rocketing downwards. So you just got to do that very gently. But I should have used vertical speed really. Okay. So now autopilot can come off. Autopilot off, yaw damper off, heading mode off, flight director off. There we go. Okay, now I want to get into the flap limiting speed. So what can I see at the front? There is a small river just south of the airport. Airport, not an airport, airfield. Okay, so we're just coming to flap speed, so flap 1 can come out. And now we've got our angle of attack indicator here. And we should have our lights yet, so we can get gear down. The airfield is very hard to find. It is, God, I can't see it. It's somewhere in there. Where is that river? Little river somewhere. There's still a way to go from it. Right, so we want to keep speed around 110. There it is. That's the airfield there. Just in there. So it's now time to turn downwind. So you see the hills? So 05 is the downwind. So we're around 700 feet, which is perfect. So just rolling out 05. Okay, beautiful. We're not going too slow. I'm going to go full flap. Close, but not too close. So we're about 90 knots, about 600 feet. 100 feet too low, really, but I'm going to accept it and pretend that I'm not flying this for a long time. Okay, we can go a lot slower than this. You can see the stall speed is around 65. Okay, Okay, so round we go. I'm just going to roll out on base leg. There you go, there's the airfield there, just in there. Okay. So we've got gear down. Let's just check our pulse lights. Yeah, I think they are working. And now we can go around to finals. See the airstrip just there. Just there. Okay, so we're about 600 feet. And it's nice and stable. We're doing what, 80 knots? That's a little bit fast really for... There we go, there's the strip. I'm not sure what the wind is. I don't want to get too low. Or too slow. Just keep that. Okay, so the inertial separator is on, lights are on, gear is down, flaps are down. So it's a dirt strip. You wouldn't really put a TBM down on a dirt strip, I don't think. Oh, it's a simulator, so we can. There we go, there's our runway. Just trying to keep it in view, which is why I'm just slightly left of it. Right of it, I mean. There we go. Down. Okay. And it's got reverse. Okay. And always remember that we put the flaps up as soon as we touch down. Two reasons for that. Firstly, lots of stones here. And you don't want the stones damaging the flaps. And so you put them up. But also, you put them up because then you lose lift. And that puts more pressure on the wheels and the brakes become more effective. So, alright, so let's just switch off our landing light, switch off the pulse. I think that was off. Yeah, pulse is off. There we go, and we'll just taxi here. This is exactly as it was. Lovely little airstrip. This, a lot of memories. Park in this corner. This is where we used to park outside this little office. A little Cessna 172 SP. Okay, so park brake can come on. I'm just going to let the engine just cool down. So, lights off. Okay. So, switch off. Engine goes to idle. Then you bring it across the gate. So you left click and hold the left button, right click. And then you can just bring it down to low idle. And then into cut off. Okay, so now we can just switch off some stuff at the top. Again, working from right to left, so the autopilot can come off. The automatic fuel select can come off. The fuel pump can come off. Starter is already off, it's auto disengages. Then we can do from the bus bar to the left, we can switch off the lighting, switch off the strobe lights, switch off the nav light, switch off the alternator, and now the battery, and then we close the bus bar. Okay, once that's done, you can open the door. I think you got to, I think you just click this, don't you? No, maybe you've got to click that first. There we go. And then you get the little step. And what we'll do, we'll try and put the let's go to the back. I'm sure that there is a way to open this door. Let's have a look. So, click to unlock. Hang on, let me just go backwards a bit because I'm not seeing something. Yeah, so unlock. There we go. So, Massa Cinquale with the TBM930. Ah, that was a fun flight. Look forward to seeing you all on the next one. Bye now.